Could have been straight up, man. Be a alpha male, not a beta male.
Listen carefully, bros. This is the revolution.
What's going on, guys? Drykage Logan JYA here, and I once again went undefeated with Drytron. Eva hit did nothing. You guys already know it's still one of the greatest decks of all time. So be sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you ain't already done so, and I'm not going to preface this too much. We're going to hop right into the list. Don't forget to check out your playmat, check out YuGiOh, and all of our other friends, including the Twitch stream and our Discord down below in the description. Let's get to it. Alright guys, time to hop into this undefeated Drytron deck profile. I'm so hyped because I was in a bit of a rut and we're back in the game with Drytron. You already know, Drykage, best deck. I'm excited to bring you guys this profile, right? It's very similar to our 9.0 list that we did right after the ban list struck down our homie Eva. And I tell you what, this build is proven to be quite good. There are some things I would change with the knowledge that I have from the event that I just played at. And I'll share those things when they come up. But without further ado, let's hop into the profile. Alright, starting things off, we're going to go through the basics real quick. Triple Alpha, hasn't changed, never will. Triple Zeta, same deal. Get those ritual spells. Triple Gamma is what we played in this build. We did the same thing in 9.0. I got to tell you right now, though, several times I opened up Double Gamma and no other name, and I was kind of bumming. So I think I might change this in the future. I'm not sure what to, but that's another flex spot that I see myself changing. Just opening Double Gamma really accomplishes next to nothing. It's not good. Hard opening Gamma, of course, with other names is phenomenal, right? Because it lets you go even further beyond. It gives you that safety net in hand. It gives you access to that awesome 4-name hand. And it's a good thing, but, you know, I think it's something I'm strongly reconsidering. So I would consider trying it with 2 or 3, see what works for you. I just personally recently bricked with it a few times, and I was just like, it's a bummer. Moving on, we've got 2 copies of Delta. That's not going to change. You play the 2 Delta. It's another phenomenal name, but technically the weakest out of the bunch. That's it for the Drytrons. That's, I mean, honestly, the golden ratio continues to change. I don't even know what it is anymore. It really depends on the build. It's gonna change regardless, just depending on what build you're playing. In this particular one, we are doing triple copies of Diviner, you already know, and we are main decking the 1 Lancia and the 1 Scythe. Like I said, this is similar to our 9.0 build. We are not using Herald of Perfection in this particular list, mostly for consistency reasons, wanting to get into those engine cards a little faster, play a deck that's closer to 40 cards, and really just abuse the Scythe lock mechanic, and also keeping things as safe as can be and resilient, playing through boards and through hand traps. So that's the logic behind this particular build. And of course, we're playing the cards for our DPE package. We got Celestial and Plasma. I actually really do like this super rare one. The secret rare is nice too, but I don't know what it is. The super just seems so nice to me. Moving on from there, let's get into our ritual lineup. We are playing the Megalith package in its entirety, 2 Fool, 1 Ophiel, and 1 Bethor. I will say, at the tournament, I played against 3 different Eldritch matchups, all of which were slightly different builds, but when I went first and was able to end on the Fool, I was blowing up their back row, and an insta-scoop phase was triggered. It was phenomenal. Bethor gets the job done, especially against the Eldritch decks. And if you guys want to stick around to the end of the video, I'm going to talk about something very important for when you have to go second and have to play through a skill drain. I'm going to tell you one of the best strategies you can employ with Drytron. It's going to be with one of the cards that's coming up soon. But anyway, full Megalith package, and then full Cyber Angel package as well. Ben 10, Ida 10, and Natasha. We're playing all 3. You already know how we do it. Natasha stealing, once again, did come up. It always comes up for me. People say that they never miss this card. I physically cannot see myself playing this deck without it. Such an important resource to have for so many different reasons. And of course, Ida 10 and Ben 10 for the additional names. Ben 10's broken. We all know that one. Finally, for the last ritual, we're playing Draconids in this build, and like I alluded to earlier, this is going to be one of your key pieces when playing through skill drains, 100%. Moving on to the spell lineup, we've got triple copies of Nova. I actually saw a post recently, I think it was the Great Shu Ping, the guy who plays Dragon like it's his job. You know, all respect on his name, but he says playing 2 Nova and 2 Emergency is correct. And I have to disagree. I definitely have to disagree. You know, agree to disagree. I think playing 3 of this and 3 of the Cyber Emergency is the way to go for maximized consistency. I also find myself siding out copies of Emergency from time to time just to make room into the main deck for some of those important side deck cards. So it's serving double duty there. Of course, you want to see names, and yes, opening them in multiples is rough, but I'd rather see double Nova than see double Gamma. I'll be 100% straight about that, because Nova fills in for whatever name you need. You have to play it slower, you have to play it slower. You can still enable DPE Scythe pretty easily, and that's going to be one of your main game plans with this particular list. Anyway, moving on, we got the 1 copy of Medionis Drytron. You don't need more than 1.
broken record. One copy of Drytron Fafnir, because we are playing also the Mystic Mine and Terraforming in this build. This is 41 and 42 cards in the list, alright? It's a 42 card list, and this is card 41 and that's card 42. I think I'm going to cut it. I think I'm going to cut both of them. As much as I love Mystic Mine, it was not working for me this particular event, you know. This OTS, it was not getting the job done. I think it was mostly because of my matchups. If I were to see it against the PK, it would have been decent, but then I saw that he kept in Cyclone because he knows how my strategy works of bringing in Mystic Mine. So it's like, you know, and of course the Draco back, if they keep it in, insta removes the Mystic Mine. So it's not as good as it used to be in those PK or in those Brave matchups, and it obviously sucks in the Eldritch matchup, which is quite prevalent in my area. So I'm thinking about cutting this and bringing the list down to an even 40. But of course, if you're playing against more combo decks, it's still a phenomenal option for a going second card, and we aren't playing too many going second cards in this particular list. Or like I alluded to earlier, triple emergency for maximized consistency. The other going second card that we are main decking is triple copies of Forbidden Droplets. Absolutely essential. I would never cut this. Absolutely not. You know, it's just that it can be that win button when you're going second. It's very important, especially. So the cool thing about this build is that you can theoretically play through a Scythe Lock, but if you don't have to deal with the Scythe Lock or a big board like what the synchro combo decks are putting up right now, it's really good to have access to this in the main board in case you don't win that die roll. Moving on, we got 2 copies of Fusion Destiny, of course, that hasn't changed, and then the one called By the Grave. Sacked by the Grave, you gotta do it to him. You gotta do it to him. So that's it for the main list. Like I said, 42 right now, but if I were to make those changes that I alluded to, we'd be at an even 40. I'm going to go through the extra deck very quickly because it's very similar to, like I said, the 9.0 version. Starting things off, of course, you got the 1 copy of Linkuriboh, mandatory. The 1 Verte Anaconda, mandatory to go with your DPE package. Also included in that is the Dagda to access the Scythe and the Lancia. 1 copy of IP Masquerena. You can add on this. It usually is with hands that are stronger for the full board. Again, if you guys want to see how the full board is built, definitely go check out the 9.0 deck profile. I go through that basic combo, but at the end of this video, we're going to talk about skill drain, and we're going to talk about a quick test hand, just a quick test hand to show you what the board looks like at the end. The 1 copy of Boral Sword Dragon, like I said, never sleep on tagging into an indestructible Boral Sword with an IP Masquerena. Very easy for cleaning up games if you're able to end on that nice board. And the 1 copy of Apollosa, of course, for additional negations, because, again, we're not going for negates as hard with this one. We do still establish the Omni negate with one of our later cards, but we also want to have that monster coverage, and when you end on that IP board, it's very helpful to have the tag out option for Apollosa, or you can even, when you have those crazy hands, you can put up the Apollosa on the first turn as well. It really comes down to player preference and how you choose to play out the hand. Exceeds, we got 2 copies of Moy Beta Fafnir, mandatory. 1 Downward Magician and 1 Zeus. We had to cut the Lyrilusc Assembled Nightingale in this particular list to get it down to 15. 1 copy of Beatrice. Again, it's not essential for your main combos, but it is essential for when you have those 1-name hands, so we still choose to play it. The 1 Herald of the Arclight for searching or hard summoning if your Diviner gets negated, and the 1 Baron de Fleur, which, of course, in our basic combo, your Megalith and your Diviner go into the Baron. We've got the 1 copy of DPE, mandatory, and the 1 copy of Elder Entity Nits for removal. Phenomenal stuff. And now we actually got some serious spice in the side deck. I gotta say, we do have some spice in the side, so I hope you guys stuck around this long, because this is where it really gets spicy. Starting things off, I'm siding 1 copy of Herald of Orange Light. I side this for going first as an additional form of interruption if we're facing against things like Dark Ruler or Droplets. So this is something you can keep in hand with one of your searches. It also gives you protection from hand traps if you can search it early. If you open up any way to Alpha Zeta, plus a hard-drawn Diviner or combo piece Fairy, you can use your first Ben 10 search to grab you this Orange Light and then keep you safe from that point going forward. It's good against Nibiru, and like I said, you can lock and load it as an alternative in case you have to fear the Dark Ruler or the Droplets. So of course this, on top of things like Lancia, is good. I also cited 1 Token Collector as a possible option to send off of Beatrice. You guys already know I was really fearing the Synchro combo decks, you know, the ones that played the Tennies and the Black Rose monsters, all that stuff. They spam Auroradon. You got to be ready for that. That's why we're playing the Token Collector on the side. Again, this is more of a going first card that you send just to give you kind of a win button against that particular strategy. Is it an auto win? Absolutely not, because they can still climb into their synchros without it, but that's why, of course, you back it up with things like Baron, Scythe Lock, whatever you need, you got. It's a good thing to have, though, especially if you're, you know, taking the Beatrice route for your combo. The other 2 copies of Lancia reside on the side. We bring these in almost all the time, especially against those PK matchups, which I did play against. Triple copies of the Dark Ruler No More, of course, for those Build-A-Board decks, like that base deck. The problem is it doesn't do much against the Scythe, so you have to see this in combination with something else. Obviously, droplets is better, but it still does give you a fighting chance. And don't forget, if you're Scythe locked, there are still plays you can do with your Megaliths, with your Draconids. There's a lot that this deck can do, especially this particular build. I was citing 2 copies of Mystic Mine as well. Like I alluded to earlier in the main deck, I think I am going to cut the Mystic Mines for what I do not know yet. I'm thinking maybe evenly matched, but I would really love to hear from you guys what you think we should change the Mystic Mines to. It's also less good since I cut the Assembled Nightingale, so this is definitely a slot that could change. These, however, will not change. The back row removal that we are playing currently, triple Cosmic, absolutely mandatory. And then I love this ratio of 1 Harpies, 1 Lightning Storm, and then 1 Red Reboot to round it out for an even 6. If we bring in the Evenlies, that's a full 9 card side. And now, of course, it's sometimes hard to cut into your engine that hard when you're going second, but these back row decks are serious threats. Them and the Brave decks are serious threats. Sometimes you need 2 blowouts to actually do the thing, if you know what I mean. So that's it for this. Next, we're going to do a quick test hand, and then we're going to talk about playing through Skill Drain. All right, guys? So let's get into it. All right, guys. So I'm actually just finished giving this deck a quick pile shuffle. We're going to give it a few riffles, and then we're going to do a test hand and see what kind of board we can pump out. This is a good combo tutorial for those of you who are unfamiliar with our original combo, and it's also just going to be good to show you how to play around real circumstance with cards in hand. And I will talk about when you get interrupted, how you can change the route, the branches, things of that nature, so you know what you're doing. Before we get into that, I want to give a quick shameless plug to the GG for free. Our free weekly tournament series actually is now bi-weekly, so be sure to join our Discord, link in the description down below. We've got a community of nearly 1,000 players who are down to duel, my friends. Anyway, let's start things off. Our first test hand, we are opening up Gamma, Alpha, Terraforming, Nova, and Fusion Destiny. This hand is phenomenal. We're going to be able to show you a nice high ceiling board. It's going to be pretty fun, and given how we opened, this is good. We are able to play resiliently through hand traps. Now, I will flag for you guys, it will suck if we do get ashed on the Alpha Thuban, but there's still, you know, Scythe Lock is guaranteed after that, of course. Scythe Lock plus IP is still guaranteed after that, if that were to happen. But without further ado, we want to keep our knowledge kind of hidden from our opponent as to what we have. If you want to, you can try and bait the Ash against more inferior players by going for the Nova first. I don't know if I would do that. I would maybe consider starting off with the Alpha, but I do like sleeping on the Gamma, because having Gamma in hand as the backup plan is also really strong as well, playing through things like Nibiru. So we'll start things off with the Nova, just to kind of, again, see if we can bait out that Ash, or go kind of, you know, hold the Gamma to be safe, and we'll summon our Zeta from deck, like so. So now, of course, we have Alpha, Zeta in Roto. You already know how we do. We're going to go Alpha, pitch the Zeta from field. Again, like I said, we want to hold that Gamma on hand because we want to hold that hand knowledge. We don't want to give that away yet. And that'll add our Ben 10 like so. Then we'll use Zeta's Effect Engrave, pitching off that Ben 10, and this will grab us our spell. Now, mind you, if our Zeta were to be stopped, we can use our Terraforming to get us into Fafnir, which gets us into Medionis, for whatever reason, in case they tried to cut us off here. You still have that route open and available to you. Don't forget to grab yourself that Diviner, which is going to be essential for our main combo line off of the Ben 10, so we got Medionis and Diviner locked and loaded. We overlay our boys for our friendly neighborhood Moy Beta Fafnir up on the top, like so. And then since we already have Gamma in hand, we're going to be using Moy Beta's effect to send ourselves a copy of Delta from deck to grave. So now we've got all 4 names in rotation. Now again, we have access to Gamma, access to Delta. We are locked and loaded, ready to go on that front. Our next step is going to be normal summoning this Diviner and using its effect to send the Herald to search our Megalith Fool to get the Megalith engine rocking and rolling, like so. So we're going to use that, grab ourselves the Fool, boom, locked and loaded. And to play a little bit more carefully from Nibiru here, I'm actually going to go cast our first Medionis activation now, detaching from the Moy Beta Fafnir like so, to summon back our Ben 10, like that. And then I'm going to use Medionis' effect to reduce Moy Beta, add this back to hand, and then I'll use Delta Engrave to pitch the Ben 10 and get a free draw, right? So we'll draw into a blank here, just an extra copy of Zeta, doesn't really matter. And then we'll use Ben 10's search to grab ourselves the Ida 10 out of deck. So we do only have 1 free ritual summon left after this, but it isn't really going to matter. This is in case we got Nibiru, we still have a monster in hand to sack with our Gamma to continue to play on, right? So next step, we're going to activate our Medionis. We're going to detach off of Moy Beta Fafnir, summon out Fool. We'll use Fool's effect to add back Ben 10 like so. Then we'll use Fool's effect on field, pitching off that Ben 10 to summon out our cool guy Ophiel will go Ben 10, Chainlink 1, Ophiel, Chainlink 2. I'm sorry if you guys can't see, there's a little glare, but you know who he is. You know what he'd do. And this is going to net ourselves a double search. Here you actually have options. It depends if you want to lock and load your Lancia in hand instead of on field with Dagged on the opponent's turn. Now is the time to do so. So we'll grab ourselves a Fool and a Lancia like so. For our next step, we'll summon our Baronne to floor by using our Ophiel and our Herald. We'll be able to summon that over here. I don't think zonage matters too much for this. I don't really want to put it in the middle because I'm going to be playing in this area with our extra deck. So, okay, Baronne de Floor, again, sorry for the glare, is over here. So now we're officially safe from the Nibiru. We're going to move on. We are going to take these two guys right over here, our Delta and our Moy Beta, link them off, get ourselves an artifact Dagged on the top like so. Dagged is going to give us our Scythe lock, you already know, so we're locked and loaded. We're going to go Gamma Effect next. We can just pitch anything from our hand. It could be the extra Delta, it could be the extra Fool, it could be the extra I to 10. It really doesn't matter. We have guaranteed follow-up no matter what, so I'm just going to pitch the Fool. It really does not matter. Again, this hand was pretty insane. We'll summon back Delta like so, and we'll use these two to make the IP. There we go. So we'll summon IP over here. And then finally, we're going to go for Fusion Destiny, activating on the field to trigger our Dagda, which will give us the artifact Scythe in the back row, like so. And again, if you didn't have the Fusion Destiny in hand, instead of making the IP here, you can go for the Verite Anaconda to send it. So you still are guaranteed the DPE. So of course, we'll use that Fusion Destiny. We'll send our pieces of junk out of the deck, Celestial, Plasma, get them out of there. If you opened them, it doesn't matter. You just send them from hand instead. And then you summon your DPE wherever you want. It doesn't really matter. So we're locked and loaded here. We've got the Baronne de Floor for the Omni Negates and the Pops, the DPE for the Pops and ensuring your Scythe lock. IP Masquerena is locked and loaded with your Artifact Dagda on the top, so you can tag out into an Apo for 6, or you can use additional monsters on the field. Say if you use your Baronne's Negate, you want to suck that up, you can make a bigger Apo, or you can tag out your Fool if it gets negated, or you can tag out, of course, after you use the Scythe. You can use the Scythe while it's on field to make your Apo even bigger, or you can tag out into a Boral Sword, an indestructible Boral Sword. Like I said, you never want to sleep on that fact. Now, I like keeping the Baronne de Floor on field because, like I said earlier in one of my other videos, if your opponent doesn't already scoop to it, you can tag it out during their next turn after you Scythe them the first time to Scythe them again. You can actually Scythe your opponent a lot of times with this deck. With the Baronne, with the Dagda, there's multiple ways you can do it, like upwards of 3 times. It's pretty cool. So that's a quick test hand, kind of showing you what the deck can do. I'm going to conclude this video by talking about skill drain and what our main strategy is to combat it, and then we'll bring this to a close. Alright guys, to close out this video, the last thing I wanted to talk about, because it's fresh on my mind after playing against multiple Eldritch players yesterday, is skill drain, alright? So skill drain. It is a pain in the butt to play against, especially game 1, especially if you're going second. So I'm going to tell you some things about it that you can do, specifically in the circumstance where you're playing against that matchup and they flip it up against you, and you may not necessarily be prepared. You don't have those cosmics in yet. It's game 1. What do you do to give yourself your best chance against skill drain? I'm going to say these aren't guaranteed win cons, but this is what you can make the best out of a bad situation, alright? So your main priority when you get skill drained and you don't have the immediate response to clear it off is you're going to want to concentrate on your Chungus monsters. I'm going to talk about this in the context of the Eldritch matchup because this is where you're most likely able to see it. When I say Chungus monsters, I'm talking about those big beefy boys. They can be found in the main deck or the extra deck. So we've got things like Zeus. Of course, its effects will be negated, but it is 3k, which means they need a boosted Lord to clear over it or a Conquistador. Also, we have Baronne de Floor. You can still summon this underneath the skill drain if your Diviner is negated by using a Bethor and a negated Diviner, of course. That gives you a 10, so you can summon Baronne, and it is a 3k beater as well. We are strictly thinking in worst case scenario here, if you need to use these boys as beaters to clear over those Golden Lords, those Heavenly Prisons, whatever they may be, you got to get some Chunguses out. Now, these guys may not necessarily accomplish that for you, and of course, they can still be popped by the Conquistador and removed by other means. So we want to stay ready. We've got as many options as we can. I want to quickly talk about how the IP effect, you can summon actually a Boral Sword that still cannot be destroyed by card effects. Now, will a boosted Lord still clear over it? Yes, because it doesn't have the same battle protection even while under skill drain since it is negated. But again, another 3k beater boy that you can kind of rely on to get you through the match, right? Because Drytrons, all their effects that activate in hand and in the grave, you're still going to be able to go for. And that's what's going to bring me to the last closing card here. Draconids is your GOAT when you're playing against the skill drain. I gotta say, you can bring this man back every single darn turn. It does not matter, because all your Drytron names in grave and in the hand are still able to activate. You are more than welcome to getting 2 monsters on the field to sacrifice with your ritual and bring this man right back out. So if they clear it the first time, you don't care. You bring him right back. He's a 4K body. Boosted Lord can't clear him. Yeah, sure, they can conk pop it. You'll bring it right on back. The problem you got to look out for, guys, and this is the big warning I want to give you. Don't try your hardest to avoid having them hwalk either Big Chungus here, right here, Draconids, or your ritual spell. That's what you gotta fear. You gotta be careful about that. Those are the big risks, and these are some of the things you can do to mitigate the skill drain. You put up big monsters and you continue to apply pressure. Also, do not be afraid to leave your Drytron monsters as blank names on the field and then switch them to attack position to go in for a quick gimp. If you can gimp them with Draconids because it's too big for them to deal with, and then just get in there with those 2K bodies, of course they summon in defense the first time, but you leave them on field, you switch them to attack. That's some serious pressure right there. So these are all things I want you guys to keep in mind if you have to face down the skill drain. And with that, I'm bringing this video to a close. Drykage, Logan JYA signing off. Have a great day. Don't forget to smash that like button. Subscribe if you ain't already done so for more Yu-Gi-Oh content. And that's all I got, Chief. I'll see you chumps later. Peace.